Thank you so much for staying tuned to TV47. This is The Marketplace. Jim and David and I were just talking about the criteria of loans and how a lot of businesses can expand the criteria, or they can expand the loans that they have access to. David, you were telling me how being in a community or being in a group makes it easier for you to get some loans. If you look at us as individuals, we sometimes get over ourselves and get more credit than we can pay. But if you look at the social aspects of how even the circles operate, the social aspects of how groups come together to capital raise, to raise money to either fund a certain project, that then helps the groupings to either instill a bit of discipline around them, right, and also ensure that the members are kept on their toes in terms of honoring their repayments and their obligations. So it makes it easier also as a group to also unify your thoughts in terms of the projects you're getting into, and not to get too carried away in terms of either picking a very big loan or also looking at a project that is out of scope. So the social aspect of groupings also has helped in terms of checking each other, right, and ensuring that the members in the group have a common aspect in terms of where they want to invest, and also ensure that every one of us is able also to repay back as and when asked to do that, because we owe it to the group, not to ourselves. You owe it to the group. And Jim, we were just discussing and we were talking about how being in a group or being yourself as an individual doesn't necessarily mess with your credibility. It doesn't mess with the credibility of the group in accessing finances. How is this?
Well, all credit appraisal starts with a history. It also means you must be an upstanding citizen in the community. Right. So the more you are well known and you are well disciplined, then that actually gives you some mileage in terms when you're approaching new partners, right? So one of the advantages then of being part of the group is just the aspect of teamwork. Together we stand, then if there's no teamwork, then you will fall. So like David is saying, is that then there's an aspect of accountability. When it comes, if the three of us here decides to take a risk, then I will hold each of us accountable to one another, because without each of us, then we are not going to benefit. So for me, I would say then it is very important, then trust is very key, and then the accountability. What you say you are going to do and you keep your word, it is actually one of the main reasons why banks will give you credit or not. And speaking of teamwork, it's very interesting that you brought that up, because a lot of financial institutions have been accused of their loan portfolio locking out a lot of marginalized groups like women, the youth, and people with special abilities. What do you say about that? First, I'll say that that's not true. What has happened is that we start with both the county government and national government. Right. They have access to government procurement opportunities, where 30% of all those tenders are normally given to women, youth, and persons with disabilities. Right. Now, typically we know those groups typically will not have the basic collaterals. So what normally happens is then that we are able to have different products that it's either the pricing is lower, the terms that typically a bank will ask if a normal person would come, we will going to remove some of those conditions. We are going to have longer tenors, and of course we are going to give a higher limit, because what has happened is that also these groups typically the government will pay faster. We are able to then link them to suppliers and also link them to other government institutions that we are working with them, especially the county government, and they would want to roll out different programs to support these special groups. And speaking of loan portfolios, only 31.4% of